Hello and a very good morning to you. I'm James Preston for 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 TV and you're watching The Early Trades, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market's opening trade scenario, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market momentum. Let's begin by taking a look at the Australian share market and the overnight efforts from overseas. The Australian share market opened lower on Wednesday, likely pulled down by a weakness in coal and iron ore miners due to softer prices of underlying commodities. The weak closing of US shares overnight could also weigh on domestic shares after inflation eased in the US, triggering fresh concerns on when the Federal Reserve will start tapering its asset purchases. The ASX 200 opened 0.5% lower to rise 0.15% to 7,437.3 points on Tuesday. Additionally, CIMIC Group and Costa Group Holdings are a few companies going ex-dividend on Wednesday. For those of you who are not aware of what ex-dividend means, it's a stock that's trading without the value of the next dividend payment. While the ex-dividend date is the day the stock starts trading without its next dividend payment. The top gainers of the day on the ASX during the early trades are Pilbara Minerals, Orocobre, IGO, Altium and also ResMed. While the bottom performing stocks are Corporate Travel Management, Beach Energy, Unity Group, Janus Henderson and also ADBR. On the Wall Street, the Dow Jones fell by 0.85%, the S&P 500 dropped 0.6% and the Nasdaq fell 0.45%. The US Labor Department said its consumer price index was up by just 0.1% in the last month. The prospect of a corporate tax hike in the US is also a matter of concern for investors. And the Federal Reserve is scheduled to meet next week. Let's now take a look at some promising ASX shares emerging throughout the day's trade, beginning with Pilbara Minerals. An Australian lithium mining company, Pilbara Minerals reported strong interest for its second lithium spodumene concentrate digital auction held via its battery material exchange. The management intends to accept the highest bid of $2,240 per dry metric tonne. The share price of Pilbara Minerals was trading higher during opening trades at $2.50 a share. Next company to take a look at is Amplia Therapeutics. The Australian pharmaceutical company has completed the design for a Phase 2 clinical trial of its focal adhesion kinase inhibitor, AMP945. The recruitment of patients for the trial is planned to start in the first quarter of 2022. The share price of Amplia Therapeutics was trading flat during opening trades, with shares at 20 cents apiece. Moving on to the next company, and Dots Nano is an advanced technology company that has entered into a 2-year distribution agreement worth $220,000, granting Paraguay-based El Alamo the right to sell the Dots test kits in Paraguay, subject to minimum purchase orders. The share price of Dots Nano was trading higher during opening trades at 42 cents apiece. Shifting now to Nuheara, who is a global leader in smart hearing technology and has received ethics approval from the Australian Human Hearing Research Ethics Committee to commence its medical device clinical trial. Receiving regulatory approval has opened substantial new market opportunities for the company in the US, Europe and also Australia. The share price of Nuheara was trading flat during opening trade at 3 cents apiece. And Australian technology company Calix has announced global decarbonisation investor Carbon Direct Capital Management has invested £15 million in Calix subsidiary Lilac Group to buy a 6.98% stake. The share price of Calix was trading higher during opening trade at $4.42. And just before we wrap up the early trades, it's time for a very short break on 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV.
Hi, I'm Sage, and get ready to take the crypto ride with me on 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. Watch the Crypto Buzz every Tuesday and join the excitement at 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. From Bitcoins to NFTs to Dogecoin and DeFi, we have updates about everything around these digital currencies. Understand the investing rationale and the risks involved in the space with me, Sage, on Crypto Buzz. Keep watching 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV.
Welcome back, I'm James Preston and this is the Early Trades on 𝐊𝐴𝐼𝐴 TV. Just as we begin to wrap up the show, let's now take a look at cryptocurrency, bond yields, crude oil, gold and metals indices. US government bond yields fell after data showed consumer prices increased at their slowest pace in 6 months in August. The yield on the benchmark 10-year note slipped more than 6 basis points. The dollar fell against major currencies after data showed a less than expected rise in US inflation over the last month. Crude oil prices ended largely unchanged as Tropical Storm Nicholas brought heavy rain and power outages in Texas, but caused less damage to US energy infrastructure than Hurricane Ida caused earlier in the month. Brent crude settled up by 0.1%, while WTI crude oil ended higher at $70.46 per barrel. Energy such as Woodside Petroleum was trading lower during early trade, whereas Santos edged lower during early trade on Wednesday. Now taking a look at the futures and commodity space, gold prices rose after US inflation fell short of expectations. Spot gold prices rose by 0.7%. ASX listed gold stocks such as Northern Star Resources Limited were seen in the green during early trade, while Newcrest Mining was also trading higher during opening trades on Wednesday. Well, that is all for now on the early morning trades. Hope you enjoyed the program. This is James signing off for now, but make sure to stay tuned to 𝐊𝐴𝐼𝐴 TV as we cover the latest in finance and business exclusively for you.